I'm Ben Gonzalez, and this is TDI. Well, we've had some cold weather this past month, and that had us thinking about how we keep warm, and especially space heaters and the dangers that they sometimes pose. Joining us today is Jeff Wilhelm. He's the Deputy Fire Chief with the Beverly Hills Volunteer Fire Department, which recently responded to a fire that looks like it may have been started by a space heater. Hello, Chief. How's it going today?
Doing great, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right, thank you. So, how often are space heater fires something that you have to respond to?
Well, we do a lot with the county here in McLennan County, and so we go on at least two or three a year that are caused by different forms of space heaters or alternate heating devices.
Do you know how often that space heaters are involved in fires around the state?
No, not around the state. It really depends on different areas of the neighborhoods as far as how old the homes are. If the homes are a lot older, they have a lot less insulation, so a lot of people supplement their heat, especially in their bedrooms when they're sleeping, when they keep the rest of the house cooler to save on energy. And they use that to do in individual rooms, are the ones we're finding out the most. Or if they do an add-on, they choose not to carry the central heat and air because of the cost into an addition, which is exactly what happened on our fire. Was they converted a garage over into a living quarters, and they did not carry the central heat and air over, so they were using space heaters, and they were also using portable window units to for the air conditioning. So that's why on this one.
Yeah, anytime a house doesn't have central heating and cooling, that could be an issue there. Well, as I mentioned, we've seen several reports in just the past couple of weeks about fires around the state being started by space heaters, like the one you guys responded to. What do you wish people knew about space heaters, or what are some rules?
Some of the rules on your space heaters, whether they're gas or electric, is that you want to give them their space. They really need their space, one, to operate correctly, but two, is a safety. So we use a 3 foot safety rules. You want non-combustible materials within 3 feet. And that's really hard, especially when you're in your bedroom because your blankets fling around, whether you're doing it or like my giant pit bull pulls my blankets off all the time onto the and they could drag it into my space heater. So you really want to be real cautious in areas when you're have a lot of movement and everything in there because you got to have that 3 foot safety rule. Some of the other rules is you don't want to use extension cords; they must go directly into the wall. Um, and then if you're using a gas heater, we really highly recommend putting the carbon monoxide detector in that room and making sure that you follow directions on the carbon monoxide. Your carbon monoxide alarms do not go on the ceiling. Carbon monoxide is actually heavier than air, so you do want them down near the plug level. Yeah. So you really want them below the chin of the shortest person that lives in the house. I know that's kind of funny, but yeah.
That makes sense. And when you're laying down, it changes, huh? Uh, one of the things that we talked about was making sure that the units were off, especially when you leave the room or when you go to sleep. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So a lot of times, especially if you have a thermostat on the heater, it could be off, as is in not fully functional, but not turned off when you leave the room. So the thermostat could still be set a little bit lower, and when you leave the room, that sucker will kick back on. Again, if we talk about you push the blankets off and it gets close to the space heater, the dog comes in and because I got another little chihuahua that loves to dig on my blankets or my jacket if it ends up on the floor, it'll get closer to a heater or something you don't even know about, and then it's kicked on while you're not even there, and then that sucker's there it goes, and we get the call.
So, what's a good way to make sure that you've really turned it off?
Is unplug it. Then you
Okay.
definitely best way is just unplug it from the wall. There's no questions about it. Especially, we do have some occasionally. They're not as up in the front limelight as like what we had this time, but some of them will have them plugged in from the winter before, and then you turn around and put stuff in front of it, not thinking it's turned on, and then next thing you know, it sucker kicks in at the first code front, and you got papers and blankets and shirts or whatever you happen to have around it, and then boof, it's gone, and you're like, well, I didn't have a space heater on. Well, you did, but it was 7 months ago. So the best thing to do is unplug it, especially if you're leaving the room at all, whether it's a short period or long period of time. Just go ahead and unplug that sucker. That also helps remind you too that you got to have a plug right real close to you. So don't use that extension cord. The extension cord, you got to think about it as a bunch of little thin wires inside that cord all twisted together. And as you see the space heater, it glows from where the wire heating up. That's what produces the heat on electric space heater. But if you can imagine that wire being much smaller, well, that's exactly what's in your extension cord. And so if it can make that bigger wire glow hot, then it's going to make your extension cord do the exact same thing. And so that's one reason why we don't recommend the extension cords. You'll just overheat and burn that extension cord up. And so no extension cords whatsoever on any kind of space heaters or cooking devices at all.
So over the years, I'm sure you've been to a few of these scenes involving space heaters. Is there a common link between them? You mentioned houses without central heating and maybe people adding extra rooms on, and that's the only way they can heat them. But anything else that you want people to know?
Yes, we in this county have a really big problem, especially out in the county where the laws are a little bit more open about having animals. So the first cold spell comes in. I've got a lot of cats. I'll open the garage a little bit. I'll put a heating device, whether it's a space heater or whether it's an actual heating lamp or of some sort, and I'll get it nice and close, and you put bedding down for them. Well, you're breaking the prime rule, the 3-foot rule of a heating device. You put everything so close. And so we respond on quite a few of those in this county every year, just because a dog, a cat, whatever they want, they're trying to heat them overnight, and then we end up going. Of course, it's at night. And so if that happens, it's in the garage at night. The fire goes much, much longer before it's ever noticed. So it's actually it burns to the ground before we ever get the phone call.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the animals, and people have, like you said, pets in the garage or maybe out in a barn or something. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks for being here today, Chief. We appreciate your time.
Not a problem. Thank you. Anytime.
All right. Well, hopefully you never have to make an insurance claim for a home fire, but if you need help with an insurance issue or just have a question about your coverage, you can visit our website. It's tdi.texas.gov, or you can call us on our helpline. That's 800-252-3439, and we have people there ready to take your insurance questions. For Deputy Chief Jeff Wilhelm, I'm Ben Gonzalez, and this is TDI.